get going here.
Sounds good.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. Well, we're rolling now. So Ryan, hello, how are you?
Doing good. How are you, Trevor?
I'm good. Thank you very much for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to be here.
So for anyone listening out there, this is Ryan Grant from the onlineSellingExperiment.com. He is a e-commerce entrepreneur and also runs a site to help people get going on their e-commerce journey. But maybe Ryan, I'll let you explain to people your career and a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so we sell products online, primarily other people's products through existing marketplaces. So we purchase products via a variety of ways. Some of our biggest channel now is wholesale. So we buy directly from manufacturers and distributors of existing brands. And then when we first started, we were doing mainly arbitrage. So buying things on similar to like clearance in big box stores and finding items that were going for more online. So we still do some of that as well, but wholesale is our biggest piece of our actual online selling business. And then we also have a couple brands where we do that are our own, and then we sell those on Amazon and then our own couple of our own websites as well. And then as Trevor mentioned, we have the site onlinesellingexperiment.com where we kind of talk about what we're doing in the online retail business, share what we're learning, and kind of help other people get started there as well.
Very cool. So if you were to break down each component of the business, which one is the one that takes up most of your time or biggest part of the whole thing?
Yeah. In terms of revenue, our actual online selling is definitely the biggest piece of the business. In terms of where my time is going currently, it's more on the online selling experiment side, and then working on the brands that we have, as I see those are more recent things that we put time into as opposed to the actual online selling. So I have a team that can help with pretty much all of the actual online selling pieces for like the wholesale and arbitrage sourcing that we do. And then I'm working on the other pieces to try to get those moving and grow those.
And you've been really successful.
Yeah, it's gone well. So yeah, I started in 2013 is when I first started this business. And last year we did over 5 million in sales on Amazon. And yeah, we've been fortunate to scale up relatively quickly.
That's pretty cool. And decent profit margin from what I understand too. You're taking home quite a bit also.
Yeah, definitely. The profits, I mean, it ranges depending on the year and how much we're reinvesting back in the business, but it's definitely a significant amount as well. And then as we continue to scale up and reinvest back in the business, there's a decent equity balance in the business
Right.
as well.
And obviously, no debt. This is your whole business. This is yours.
Mm-hmm. Yep, no debt, and then no other investors or owners.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So originally you got going through online arbitrage from what I've read.
Yeah, so when I first started, it was a mix of retail and online arbitrage. So it's forms of the same thing. We call retail arbitrage buying directly in stores. So if you physically go to the store, that'd be retail arbitrage. And then if you purchase from an online retailer, say Walmart.com,
Yes, right.
that would be the online version. So that was really what kind of got me from prior to running this business. I worked as an accountant for a couple of years, and then doing the arbitrage type sourcing model was kind of my escape plan from that to get this going.
So for anyone listening, what is arbitrage and how does that relate to selling online?
Mm-hmm. So arbitrage is just finding one location where an item is an artificially low price and then selling it on another marketplace where you can sell it for more. So effectively it's buy low, sell high. You can do it between really any two marketplaces where there's a variance in the pricing. And then in terms of how it relates to selling online, the most common ways that people do it are they'll buy in a physical store or an online store, and then they'll turn around and sell that item on a marketplace like Amazon, eBay, or something like Facebook Marketplace or any other marketplace that is out there. So it's really a great gateway to get people into the online selling space, kind of get your feet wet, learn the process, and then if it goes well, you can expand into other sourcing methods. So it's really a great gateway to getting people started.
So when you started, you would go into stores like Walmart and search the aisles for items that had a lower price than for what you could sell them online and turn around the product from there?
Yeah. Yeah. We would look for items that we could see were selling for less in Walmart than they were on, say, Amazon or eBay, and then buy the ones that we could sell for more. And then the other main thing we're looking for is seeing some signs of demand for the product. So we want to make sure we're not buying something that's just going to sit there and then we're stuck with something that Walmart couldn't sell.
Right.
So the other main thing we look at is like the sales rank on an item shows, that's a number unique to Amazon, where it shows an indication of demand of how quickly the item's selling, and then looking at the reviews are another way. So we want to make sure we can see signs of demand in addition to being able to sell it for a profit.
And the main tool you used when you started out to do this was the Amazon Seller app.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So the Amazon Seller app, free tool from Amazon that gives you all of this information. Basically, you can point your phone's camera at the barcode on the product, and then it'll show you what it's selling for, what the reviews look like, what the sales rank is, and then it has a calculator built in to allow you to calculate if you'd make money if you sold it at current market pricing. So yeah, that one actually came out partway through. That is the one that I'd recommend people start with today. But we were first using one called Profit Bandit
Cool.
when I first started, because the Amazon Seller app didn't exist back in like 2013 when we first started this.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's how you got going then. I read you were also selling textbooks in university online. That was another start.
Yeah. So that was kind of the first items I ever sold on Amazon were my college textbooks freshman year. So at the end of the semester, I was done with the books, wanted to go cash them in at the bookstore, like pretty much everybody does.
Yeah.
And then saw that they offered me something like $100 for the books that cost over $500 at the beginning of the semester.
Yep.
And I'm like, there's got to be a better route than this. So I kept the books, looked into other options, and then ended up selling them on Amazon instead. So that's what I did that first semester. And then the next semester, I sold some books for friends and other people who wanted to get more for their books and just took a commission. And then from there, we kind of expanded we did these little mini textbook buyback events where we'd set up a table on campus and have like a sign that said we're paying cash for books. And then we'd buy books directly from students at the end of the semester and then sell those on Amazon. So yeah, that was something I did throughout college. And then after that, graduated, took the job as an accountant, didn't like being an accountant.
Yeah.
And then started the business that I'm running today.
So you are from Minnesota, I believe?
Mm-hmm. Yep, Minnesota.
Went to university there, became an accountant, and did that for a few years before quitting the job. Can you tell that story?
Yeah, so I took the job, it would have been January of 2012 was when I first started being an accountant. So January through April is what's known as busy season. In the accounting world, it's tax time. So I got thrown kind of right into the fire there. So within about 5 or 6 months of having that job, I knew that I didn't want to be an accountant anymore. And was kind of wanted to figure out a way to run my own business and get out of that job. So I knew that selling on Amazon worked from the textbook stuff, but I didn't necessarily know how to do it year round, as textbooks are very, very seasonal. So that's when I found out about retail arbitrage and started testing it out and got some initial sales. And then I set a goal of getting to the level of making $1,000 a month in profit, working 10 hours per week while I still had that full-time job. So it took me probably almost a year from when I first started retail arbitrage to getting to the point where I was actually able to hit that goal. As time went on and I went through another busy season, that really got me going faster.
Yeah.
because I wanted to make sure I didn't go through a third one. So I would say early 2013 is when I really started to take it seriously, of trying to hit that goal of getting to $1,000 a month, working 10 hours per week. And over the summer of 2013 is when I hit that, and then ultimately quit the accounting job in September of 2013. And the theory of the $1,000 a month, working 10 hours per week, my theory was if I could do that, then if I quit, I'd be able to put 40 or more hours in, and then scale up to a salary close to what I was making at the accounting job. So that's how it all began.
What was it like when you quit your job? Was it nerve-wracking? Were you scared?
Yeah, definitely. It was a bit nerve-wracking. I was excited though too.
You're pretty young,
Before,
like you weren't that old.
yeah, I was. What was I? 24 or 25 when I quit. So I didn't feel like I was risking too much. I felt like it was kind of a unique opportunity in my life to be able to take a risk like that, where I would just be risking me personally, and then if it didn't work out, I would likely be able to go back and be an accountant, but I at least knew that I had the chance to pursue what I really wanted to do. So I'd been considering it for quite a while, quitting. So on the day that it came, I was pretty excited and walked out of the building pretty happy. But then like the first day I woke up, after that, or the first Monday, whenever I was going to get started on the business, I remember kind of waking up like, what am I doing? I'm
Yeah.
about to go look in like thrift stores and retail stores and look for items. And kind of was like, I don't know, I wouldn't call it second thoughts, but I was definitely like, I traded in the job I thought right, the job I thought I wanted for a long time for going shopping, more or less, and then shipping products. But once I started to get some more traction when I was full-time, then those thoughts went away pretty quick.
So was the success fairly immediate when you went full-time?
It scaled up pretty quickly. I think the first month, October of 2013, was about $2,000 in profit, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it felt like
Pretty
a
good,
lot when,
yeah.
yeah, it felt like a good amount. And then November was about $5,000 in profit. And then December was about $8,000 in profit. So I started at a really fortunate time, because it's known as Q4 in the online retail or the retail world. October through December is the peak time of demand. So it was a great time to get started. And then once I'd been through those first 3 months and had seen that level of profit, I was pretty confident from there on that I would be able to make it work, at least at a level that would support me. And then I was hoping at that point that it would be something where I could get a team involved and continue to scale up from there as well. But those first 3 months definitely really helped build the bankroll.
Right. So were you scared when you were out shopping for items in that first stage of the business that you'd see people you know, or was that even something that crossed your mind?
Yeah, I wasn't too worried about it. I was living in Minneapolis at the time, so it's a pretty big metro area. So I have seen people I know before when I was
Okay.
shopping, but it was pretty infrequent. But definitely right away, it feels more awkward in the early stages of doing it, because you're in the stores looking up items on your phone. You don't
Right.
look quite like a normal shopper. You might have a cart full of some random
Yeah.
item.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some, I don't know, nervousness, hesitation, just feeling a little awkward in the stores on the front end. Like you said, worried about running into people. But at the end of the day, I much preferred that to working as an accountant. So I was willing to deal with those discomforts as opposed to going back and kind of being the accountant again.
And you probably didn't really see anyone you knew anyways.
Yeah, it was the first time I did. I don't know. I was at least a year in before I saw anybody I knew. So it
Right.
was, yeah, it was unfounded for the most part.
So that was the initial stage of the business. Then you got into wholesale and other things, teaching, and we can get into that, and getting to the
Mhm.
point now where you're doing $5 million a year in sales, which is pretty cool and have taken an unconventional career path. What was your inspiration towards taking an unconventional career path? Did you have people you look towards? Did you read the 4 Hour Work Week? Stuff
I
like
did.
that?
Yeah, I read the 4 Hour Work Week pretty early on. So that was definitely provided some inspiration and at least kind of showed that these different paths were possible. I mean, I kind of knew going into college that I someday wanted to have my own business. I never knew exactly what shape it would take. But I would say like the biggest inspiration was kind of working that accounting job, feeling trapped, and
Hmm.
just thinking like in college and prior to that, you have a break usually in the
Yeah.
summer, and then there's a break between the semesters. But then you enter this career, and 40 plus years of that is staring you in the face, and I just I couldn't stomach it really
Yeah.
without at least trying something else. So I would say that was probably some of the books I read definitely helped, like the 4 Hour Work Week, and then I had some experience with some kind of random business ventures of sorts prior to college as well. Like we had, I grew up on a small hobby farm, so we had like sheep and goats, and we did like a pumpkin patch to try to make money.
Hmm.
So kind of saw those processes through. So none of those were all that profitable, but they made some money and kind of showed that you could do things on your own terms. So I would definitely say that had some impact for taking the leap as well.
What other books would you recommend to people thinking about entrepreneurship in their own business and an unconventional career path?
Yeah. Yeah. The 4 Hour Work Week, I think, is a good one for people. I really like a book called The Slight Edge. That's more, it's definitely a business book, but more about mindset. It's just about the maximizing each decision, and like little decisions compounding over time have a large impact of where you end up. What else? Those are two that stand out. I like the book Millionaire Fastlane
Yeah, I read that.
by MJ
MJ DeMarco.
DeMarco. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I liked that one. Uh,
Do you ever read
a
The
g-
E-Myth, Michael Gerber?
yeah, I like that one too. I just found it a little bit later after like the 4 Hour Work Week. So some of these books, like The Slight Edge too, there's other ones that have the same exact concept, just in different packaging more or less. So I think it depends on what order certain books are found in too.
Okay.
Um, what else? I like The Magic of Thinking Big.
Yeah, I read that.
Um,
Yeah.
and then one that's just a good story that kind of shows the ups and downs along the way too is Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, the
That's a
founder
great,
of
yeah.
Nike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's an accountant like you.
Yeah, that he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked that one. That was probably one of my favorite books in the past couple of years. So, I mean, those are a few, but
Hmm.
I've definitely read a lot of business books along the way, and I think they help.
You're kind of from the Midwest area of the States. Do you ever read Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger or anything like that?
I haven't read a ton of it.
Okay.
I have Poor Charlie's Almanac, that book, but I haven't made it all the way through it yet.
Okay. So now you're at a stage in the business where you're probably selling thousands, hundreds of thousands a unit every day, I would imagine. Is that kind of where things are at?
We definitely sell thousands of dollars per day. Yeah, I mean, we probably sell on average, it's probably about 10,000 units a month.
Holy cow.
So yeah, it's scaled up quite a bit.
Do you ever log online and shopping on Amazon and end up buying something of your own by accident?
No, that hasn't happened. But no, I mean, it sounds like a lot, but it's still a very, very small amount in the scale of Amazon.
So what was the inspiration behind setting up a website to kind of document your journey and show people how much you were earning and whatnot?
Yeah. I mean, this kind of goes back to the beginning of trying to decide if taking an alternate path or an unconventional path even made sense. So I wanted to kind of share the process that I went through in the early stages. So then good or bad, other people could learn from it in the future if they were considering something similar. So I started the site about a month after I quit my job. So it was late 2019. 2013, and then I shared financial results posts for the first roughly 2 years that I was running the business, and would show exactly what the breakdown was, just to kind of document the process so that people could see what was happening. But I mean, I think the biggest reason though was just, or the two probably biggest reasons was documenting the journey so that other people could consider or like see it if they're considering something similar. And then I hoped that it would have the potential to turn into something that could potentially generate revenue as well down the line. And then probably another small reason at the time was, if you do that, then people don't think you're quite as crazy for quitting the job when they can kind of see how it's going. Because without it, then there would be really no credibility to, I don't know, people would just think you quit your job to sell random stuff and wouldn't necessarily know how it went. So I think that probably played in a little bit too, but I didn't really know. I mean, when I started, I had no way of knowing exactly where things were going to lead. So
did you have a hard time convincing people that the numbers were actually real? How did you prove to people that what you're saying is true?
Right. I mean, there's definitely been doubts along the way, but I think for the most part, people, because I was doing it monthly consistently and was sharing other parts of the process through other posts too. And I think people could just tell that it was authentic. And I tried to add more screenshots of various pieces along the way to do that. And then other people who had built their own businesses too and had kind of taken a similar path, they'd seen similar numbers to what I had done too. So that kind of helped normalize it in their eyes too, so that they knew it wasn't like making it up. All of the, like, everything adds up. Like if you calculate the fee percentages and everything,
right,
the margins, like it's actually all achievable. It's not just Photoshop. Right. But I mean, yeah, it's a valid question. And I guess fortunately at the time too, it was before it was kind of as common for people to talk about them. So I think there was a little bit more, there was probably more trust in what people were saying on sites back in 2013 through 2015 than say today. I think there's more skepticism out there today, probably. Just, I don't know. But yeah, I would say overall though, people believed it, and like people knew that I actually quit the job too. So I think, I don't know. I think it was all congruent, you know, so I think those things helped people believe that it was real, and they kind of, I don't know, liked following along with the progress on a monthly basis too.
Right. It's just when you hear online selling and millions and how you do this, you know, some people take it with a grain of salt, if you know what I mean.
Right. And at the time it was thousands too. So that helps too. Like if I had started and then a few months later was doing millions, that's a much harder story to believe, whether it's true or not. But then when you see, okay, this guy's showing $2,000 month one, 5,000 month two, you can kind of see the progression. And then another thing I did early on was I did some posts that talked about mistakes that I made too. And I think as long as you're sharing both sides of the equation, people are a lot more likely to believe you and know that it's authentic and not photoshopping every number or things like that.
Did you have to explain to your parents much what you were doing, or was it your own sort of path and it was an easy go?
Yeah. I mean, I had talked to them about it prior to quitting, and I don't think they were super shocked, because I'd talked to them prior to when I was going to quit about that I didn't really like the accounting job, and they kind of knew that. So they were supportive, and they kind of agreed that it's a time in your life when you can kind of take a risk like that and not really have any impacts to anyone else. So they were supportive, and that definitely helped a lot too, to not have to convince them or have them or do it anyway and then have them like every time you go home you hear about it. That wouldn't be
Right.
fun. But
Do
yeah,
you think,
go ahead.
do you think writing out the blogs and whatnot has helped clarify your business and your thinking? And have you found value in stuff like that?
I think so. Because then I've heard before that if you know you're going to have to teach something, or you know you'll teach something in the future, that helps you gain a better understanding of it as well. And I've definitely found that to be true. When I'm putting a post together, I base it on my knowledge, but then also do the research just to verify everything. And then the questions that come up along the way from readers sometimes make me consider things I never did as well. So then I go and do the research, find out the answer, and then I learn from that process as well. So I think there's a lot of value in kind of sharing the process, sharing the journey, and then I've learned a lot of things from teaching it as well.
Most of your business is on Amazon right now, but I know you sell on all the e-commerce platforms. How much do you think of your business is on Amazon?
For our online retail sales, it's probably 95%. It's the vast majority. And we've focused there. We've focused there primarily because we've continued to find more and more opportunity. So we don't want to deviate from what's working too much. I do want to get more diversified because it is, there's definitely risk in having this level of concentration in one marketplace. But yeah, Amazon's by far our biggest. Then it would be eBay, and then our own websites, and then we're on Walmart as well. Those are our main channels for the online retail side.
Do you think Amazon's just going to keep growing and growing, or do you think that this phase of e-commerce through the opportunity with them is kind of timely, or what's your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good question. I think for the foreseeable future, I think Amazon continues to grow. I don't see what would stop them. I think online retail as a whole is going to continue to grow, and Amazon's got such a lead in that right now that I think the growth will kind of come naturally with that for the foreseeable future. I know there's a lot of like Walmart's growing, eBay's a player, and then like Google's working on
they just started something. Yeah,
they've got like a buy with Google program now to sell through them, and then currently they're running a promotion where there's no commission on it, on any sales you generate that way. So it'll be interesting. And then Facebook launched Facebook Shops recently. So, those are big name companies. I just don't know if they'll ever really be able to catch up with the head start that Amazon has, especially with like the Fulfillment by Amazon program too.
Yeah.
Because they're 10 plus years ahead of anybody else with that infrastructure. So I don't know. I see Amazon being a fixture in the online retail space for indefinitely. I don't see that changing. How they do different things, or like if they change up certain policies or have more of their own brands in the future, those things are all possible. But I still think the marketplace will have a lot of opportunity for many years to come.
And even if it does change from Amazon, the trend of e-commerce is still going to go up regardless, it sounds like.
I think so. Especially like, I think what we've been going through in the world now with like the COVID situation, I think that's going to expedite the growth of e-commerce too, because so many people are being forced to buy product that way when they're not able to leave their homes. We see more and more retailers, brick and mortar retailers, going out of business that haven't been able to adapt to online. So I think the trend of e-commerce is just going to continue to rise.
You teach a lot of courses on e-commerce and whatnot. Do you ever worry that you're training competitors and that they're going to, it's a zero-sum game sort of thing?
Yeah. I guess I don't see it as a zero-sum game. The only way that we would get into real challenges there would be like if we train somebody on the exact strategies and then they are located in the exact same area as
that
us.
Could happen.
It could happen, but the reality is like it would have to be so many people, because like if we did like if we're talking about arbitrage and brick and mortar stores, I mean, there's thousands of stores just in the metro area that my business operates in. So for one, or even, I mean, even if 100 people started doing it, to cover all of those stores and do it well, I don't see that happening or being very likely. But I mean, it's not impossible, but we haven't found it to have negative implications for us thus far. Right. And then like on the wholesale side, we teach strategies there. I mean, you can make a really nice business having 5 to 10 wholesale accounts, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of, if not millions of brands out there that could potentially, people could work with. So there we don't see it as a zero-sum game either. There's lots of people who need help selling their products online, and if there's more competent and capable people doing it, I think that's good for everyone. And then, I mean, it's good for, we obviously make money on the deal too. So right. That's part of the equation for sure, right, as well. But I mean, one of my goals though too is to help other people start their own businesses, because it's been a massively positive change
kind of
for
fulfilling.
Me. Yeah. So it's definitely fulfilling to help other people get started, especially if it's somebody who is kind of making their first sale, or they know they're interested but don't know how to get started, like helping those people take that first step, and then hopefully then growing with them if they're interested in learning more strategies. But it's definitely fulfilling to see like other people start through some of the stuff that we've done too.
Can you think of any success stories of people that you've taught how to start selling online and it's really kind of changed their career path and their life? And
yeah, I mean, we've had multiple coaching clients who started with full-time jobs and then ended up doing this full-time. We typically don't get into exact specifics just to protect people's confidentiality.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of people we've helped who have gone from either zero to making $1,000 a month or whatever their goal is, and then we've had people that have we've had coaching clients that have started around like 2,000 a month and then had gone on to do over $1 million in a year. So that's a lot of fun to be a part of as well. So yeah, it's been a fun ride.
You started originally with just retail arbitrage, but then you switched to include wholesale, and I think you're doing some private label now.
Yep, that's right. So yeah, first it was all arbitrage, and arbitrage is great to build cash flow and kind of get that experience.
For people listening, can you explain what wholesale is? Just, we went through arbitrage, but what is wholesale?
Yep, and then wholesale is what we consider it buying directly from manufacturers and distributors of existing brands. Right. So these would be could be anything. It could be like KitchenAid. You would purchase from them. And then typically you're buying for in the ballpark of half of their retail price, depending on the brand and their pricing structure. And then you would take care of all of their online distribution for them. It could be on all of the marketplaces you sell on. It could be on just one, could be on just your website. Depends on what that brand wants. But effectively you're buying directly from the manufacturer or the distributor. So that's what we would consider wholesaling. And then the main value add for those companies is then they're working with someone who knows the process of selling on all these marketplaces. It fits very well into their existing distribution system. Most of these companies are used to selling to brick and mortar stores. So when they sell to you, they're selling to in the exact same format that they're used to. So that's the wholesale
and model. Then private label?
Private label would be, I guess, is typically most commonly importing a product and then putting your own brand name on it. So private label, or we sometimes call it brand building.
Okay.
If you're doing or building your own brand, that would just be if you're getting it from a manufacturer and then you're branding it as your own, or you're manufacturing your own product. That's when you actually own the rights to the brand as well. So that's, that long term, we'd like to do more and more of that, because then you own everything, and then typically margins are higher. You're creating more equity in the business. But yeah, we see it as kind of a progression. You can start with arbitrage and then build into wholesale, and then use all that experience to branch off into brand building from there as well.
And you've like I said, built the business up to pretty sizable now. And I read that you are working less than ever. Is that true? I think I read that maybe you've outsourced a lot of your work. How much time are you putting into the business right now?
Yeah. So I guess there's two parts to the answer, I guess. One is what's required to keep the business going, like actual time required, and then there's what actually goes in. So I mean, in terms of like keeping the online retail operations going, so like the selling of the physical products, I mean, realistically, I'd only have to put in a few hours per week to keep that going.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. It's been a definitely a progression, but it's cool to see it get to this stage. And yeah, I've got a great team that helps with all of the day-to-day aspects, and we've got good processes to do that. And then so that's the online selling side. And then for the actual like online selling experiment, where we're teaching and then just finding growth opportunities, so like working on our own brands, I end up putting in a good amount of time on those things too. So I mean, most weeks now I'm working about 40 hours a week in total. It's not necessarily required to do all of that necessarily to keep the business going at its current level, but I mean, I enjoy it. I'd like to continue to grow the business, and then continue to document the journey, help more people get started. I enjoy all of those things, so I'd rather be doing this. I mean, if I wasn't doing this, I don't know exactly what I would be doing with the other time either. So for the foreseeable future, I enjoy working on it and don't plan to stop, even though it's not technically required, I guess, to keep things operating.
Do you think you could have a 4-hour work week sort of business if you wanted?
Yeah, I do.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been like a gradual progression though. The way
a lot of hard work, I would imagine.
Yep. Yeah, a lot along the way, but in reality, it's just putting a system in place for every little thing until you've got a team or a system doing all of the things you were doing previously that keep the business going. So especially in a business like this, it's not rocket science. It's just putting consistent action into the plan and chipping away at the things that are taking up time, and so you can focus on the things that I wanted to, or whoever is trying to do this wants to down the line.
Do you have a product category, a product that's really hit it out of the park, where you've sold millions and millions of a certain item without giving away any trade secrets?
Yeah, we don't have. So we sell, with the model we do, we sell a lot of different products and not necessarily a huge number of each one. So we consider that being wide versus deep in terms of our inventory mix. So we have a lot of different products that we do reasonably well on, but we don't have anything like that we've sold millions of, and probably not many things we've sold like over 100,000 of. We sell a lot of things that sell in total maybe a few $1,000s worth per month. And then from an individual account, when you put all their products together, we have certain accounts where we generate tens of thousands per month in sales. And if they're in season, they might be, or like if it's say a toy and it's Q4, we might do 100,000 plus per month in sales from a single account, but we don't have, it's still spread out across many different products.
When COVID hit, there were certain online sellers who got in a lot of trouble for marking up their products too much. And as a result, we're stuck with lots of inventory and a lot of online hatred, backlash. Did you have to walk kind of a thin line in the last few months on some of your products?
We didn't really. So that definitely happened though. So, I mean,
do you know those guys?
Not personally, but I know of them. I know some. I mean, we don't sell anything like the masks and the hand sanitizer, those essentials, especially in a time of crisis. We're not trying to profit off of anything like that.
Right.
So that's, I don't know. I mean, it's in times of crisis, it's considered price gouging and is illegal. So we don't do anything like that. A, because it's illegal, and B, because I don't know, wouldn't feel good about it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that didn't impact us. We didn't have any products like that on hand. And then, I mean, we sell a lot of non-essential products, so we're not selling like groceries or anything that people really need. So like when COVID hit, we took a hit on the actual amount of sales we were bringing in for a while.
Right. Amazon limited a lot of categories for input.
Yep, they limited what you could actually send in to their warehouses, and then they also prioritized the shipping of the essential items. So then anybody who was selling things that were deemed non-essential, then if customers were to buy them, the estimated shipping times at times were showing like a month out from when they would place the orders, which didn't lead customers to want to purchase as much, or still purchases were coming in, just not at the same rate they were prior to the COVID situation.
But you didn't have to cut back on selling certain products or anything like that?
No, we didn't. I mean, I guess for a period of time, I think it was like a 3 or 4 week window where there was limitations on what could be sent in to Amazon's warehouses. So we just slowed our purchasing for that time period. We shipped more things direct to customers ourselves during that time, but it normalized relatively quickly in terms of being able to send product back in. So it was a speed bump, but it wasn't no massive issue on that front.
Have you ever made any big mistakes on buying inventory along the way? Anything that stands out where you may have learned something and helped you out in the future?
Yeah, one that comes to mind was in 2015, I believe it was. We bought a liquidation lot of, it's called the Pedicure Power. It's a nailing file tool for dogs. We were able to buy, I think we bought about 700 of them for roughly $4 each. It was a closeout that we got from a local liquidator. And they were selling for about $20 at the time. So it looked like a good deal on paper. And then we started selling them. And the first batch, I think we sold 100 or so, and they went well. And then we started selling more, and we were getting returns like crazy. And it turned out that there were some defective products in that batch that we purchased from the liquidator. And that actually led to our Amazon account getting suspended temporarily. So we were able to get it reinstated, but what it taught, like the lesson in it all, was being very, very careful about where we're actually purchasing the inventory from, making sure that it's coming from a legitimate source and that we have proper proof that it's traced directly back to the manufacturer, because that's what Amazon wants to see in the event. If a customer complains about either the condition or the authenticity of an item that you sell, you need to have invoices or receipts that show that it came from a legitimate place, and saying that it came from a local liquidator doesn't provide that proof. So ever since then, we've made sure that we have proof of exactly where our items come from. And then we do very little liquidation buying unless we can tell exactly where it came from and we can verify that it's something that actually that all of them are going to work. So typically if we do it now, it's not on something that needs to be plugged in or has any complicated pieces. We want to be able to like see it and make sure that it's not likely to have problems. So that's definitely one that stands out. And then, I mean, there's many times where we bought an item and then we thought it would go well and we end up selling for less than we expect, or we lose some money on it. But all in all, as long as you're right most of the time, the vast majority of the time, you can definitely absorb some losers along the way.
When you got those complaints and whatnot, I read that your Amazon account was shut down. Was that a sleepless night?
Yeah, it was pretty scary.
Because that's going back to your concentration on Amazon, your main source of income.
Yep. Yeah, at the time, that was pretty much the only sale. I mean, we were still on eBay at the time, and But yeah, that was pretty concerning. So it was restless sleep definitely that night. And fortunately, I mean, we were able to get reinstated within, I think it was like 36 hours. So it wasn't,
yeah,
it wasn't that long, but it definitely, it was, yeah, it was a good experience to have gone through in hindsight, because for the most part, if you're following the rules on Amazon, acting in good faith, you're going to be fine.
So yeah, because you always read about those horror stories of people getting their account suspended and whatnot. But you think to yourself, well, they must be doing something illegal or wrong if they're always getting suspended.
Most, I'm not going to say every time, but most of the time there's more to the story when you hear something like that. So yeah, once that happened to us, we just made sure, okay, we're going to fully understand all of Amazon's policies, fully adhere to them. And then, we haven't had any issues since. I mean, still want more diversification down the road. More comfortable with it now that we're fully aware of what all of the policies are. We've always intended to do things that way, but when you get suspended, you take a closer look at everything.
There are a lot of tools out there to help online sellers and whatnot, like Tactile Arbitrage and software products. What are you using right now for your business?
Yeah,
I should explain what they are actually, maybe for people listening. What is Tactile Arbitrage and how does it help?
Yeah, so Tactile Arbitrage is a tool that effectively automates a good portion of the online arbitrage process. So as opposed to going through, like, say, Target's website and having to copy and paste the title from Target to Amazon to do your research, Tactile Arbitrage lets you pick a category of Target's website, and then it will automatically compare all of the items in that category on Target to Amazon and let you know which ones it believes are going to be profitable to sell on Amazon. And then basically you can filter through this short list of products as opposed to going through each one manually. So that's definitely one that we use for the online arbitrage side. We use Inventory Lab, which helps for accounting and also includes a scanning app, a retail arbitrage scanning app called Scoutify, that's useful for finding items in retail stores. We use a repricer currently called Be Cool. It's bqool.com. That helps update our pricing based on changes that our competitors are making on items that we sell. We use a tool called Joe Lister that copies, it syncs our inventory between Amazon and eBay, so that if we get an order on eBay, it will be fulfilled using our Fulfillment by Amazon inventory.
I've actually used that too with the coffee business.
Nice. Yeah, it's pretty slick.
Yeah.
And then, those are some of the main ones. I'm definitely leaving some out, but we have a full list on the site at onlinesellingexperiment.com/resources. And then we update that pretty frequently with any tools that we're using to sell online and using in the business.
Cool. So you can't work all the time. You must have some outside hobbies from the business. What do you do to kind of relax, or what do you do outside of work, just for people listening?
Right. I'm recently engaged, so spend a lot of time with my fiance, especially in these last few months during COVID.
Quarantine.
During quarantine, exactly. Yeah. And we just got a puppy recently as well, so she's been keeping us busy too. Like to travel when it's safe, of course. Not at the moment. Pretty much any outdoor activity, like water sports, like paddleboarding, kayaking, board games, ping pong.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, those are some of the main things.
And going forward, the business is still growing. What are the opportunities you're looking towards going forward in e-commerce?
Yeah. At the moment, I would say it's continuing to build on the wholesale side. So working with more existing brands, and then also doing more of our own brands as well. I think those are really the two main areas that we're going to be focusing. And in conjunction with that, it's expanding the sales channels that we sell on, and then bringing up the percentage from marketplaces other than Amazon. We'll continue to sell on Amazon as long as they'll have us.
Yeah.
But just having some additional diversification is definitely a goal as well. So I think that's the path for us for the e-commerce side.
Does anyone ever offer to buy your business from you? Has that happened yet?
I mean, I've gotten some emails that say they don't feel like they're personalized to me, though. They feel like somebody's blasting out an email to many different people just asking if we're interested in selling. So I wouldn't say we've had any serious offers.
Because if you could build up an inventory of wholesale accounts, and obviously there'd be huge value to flip that over to someone for steady cash flow.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something we'd definitely consider down the line as well, depending on where the future leads. But yeah, with the amount of arbitrage we still do, that's a little bit more difficult for a buyer to tangibly put a value on. But if we can shift more to where it's wholesale and brands, then that's definitely an angle that we'll consider in the future.
You don't get in it to sell the business, though. That's a pretty lousy reason to get into business, to audit, just to flip it, I guess.
Right. Yeah, we're not aiming to. Yeah, it's not the goal at the moment, but who knows? It's a possibility for the future.
Well, that's really cool. I think that's a great snapshot of your business and you a little bit. And to wrap things up, I guess, what advice would you give to your 20-year-old self coming out of university, starting your business career?
20 years old. I mean, if I was 20 and could go back in time, I would have said pursue the textbooks business or right away, and then start selling online sooner. I mean, but we can't actually go back with the time machine. So, or like that wouldn't help anybody necessarily.
Just start earlier. Yeah.
That wouldn't necessarily help anybody today. But yeah, in terms of what I would tell, like if I was going back and somebody else could follow the same advice, I think it would be start sooner still. I think just getting on the path of being able to create an income on your own terms, even if that's making one sale or you make $10 on it, that can kind of get the ball rolling. And then I would say too, like, I wouldn't be as afraid to kind of take a risk that you think has the potential to pay off in a big way, or at least will avoid like future regret. So I think that would be things that I would say. And I think the biggest though would just be kind of taking action on whatever is interesting at the time, or if you want to try to do something on your own terms, do it. Yeah, just do it is kind of the thought that comes to mind, because I mean, that's how you find everything out. You can kind of wonder what if, or you can try it and then and generally knowing a lot of the time is going to lead to positive results, but at a minimum, it's going to buy you peace of mind, because trying and failing that's fine too. Then you're not sitting at an accounting desk when you're 40 wondering, should I have taken that chance when I was 20? Or you took it and then maybe it worked out, maybe it didn't, but either way, you'll have peace with it.
The fat bald man in the BMW at 40.
That's right. Who knows? That could still happen.
Yeah, touch wood. Yeah.
Right. So
you flip that on its head. What's the worst business advice you've ever been given?
Worst business advice. I mean, there were people who were kind of trying to talk me out of the arbitrage business model early on. And I don't think it's completely unfounded, because there is a lot of value in having like your own brand. But at the time, like and I still think this today, like there's hardly a better way to build up experience selling online and build up a bankroll of being able to invest in other avenues. So yeah, I mean, I can remember one time in particular, I was at it was some sort of networking event, and they were basically saying that I shouldn't pursue the arbitrage path. And I think that was unfounded based on how things
Yeah.
turned out. But I mean, I guess if I went into my own brand sooner, maybe there's a chance that things would have looked differently. But the way I see it, it's been able to build up a decent amount of capital in the business to be able to deploy however we want. And then we've learned a ton in the process too, that we can apply however we go. So I think that's what jumps to mind, at least for me.
Well, arbitrage is one of the oldest activities known to man.
Exactly. So, right. So that's
lousy advice.
Yep.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you, Ryan. I think that's a great place to sort of wrap things up. I won't take too much more of your time. And
sounds good. Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Thank you. We'll end it there and appreciate it.
Sounds good. Yeah. Thanks, Trevor. We'll talk to you later.
Alrighty.